Matthew, I think there's really an attitude difference when it comes to the modern church and really just traditional Catholic thought. And I think some of the modern lack of practice is sort of bled through. And one of these things that I see that in is the Sundays after Pentecost, which of course in the Novus Ordo it's often referred to as ordinary time. What would you say is the way that traditional Catholics that want to take the liturgical season more seriously, how should we approach these Sundays after Pentecost?
Yeah, so it's very easy to fall into the rut of they're just period of waiting until Advent, that you got nothing going on, you're just waiting until Advent. And I encourage a lot of people. So I do a podcast of my own, the A Catholic Life podcast, and I refer to a lot of people the need to keep your Lenten resolutions at this time and find ways to improve your life. You probably set out and during Lent or even at the beginning of the year to you wanted to do certain things better in the faith and you wanted to root out bad habits. This, unfortunately, I feel like is a period in which a lot of people are more prone to going on vacation. Nothing wrong with vacation, but when the faith takes a back seat and nothing normal is happening, and it's just routine. There's nothing special. People no longer view that in the sense that I feel like they should. So one thing we can do is praying and reading through different meditations for the liturgical year. So whether that be I have ones by Father Pius Parsh that each Sunday I read through, and he really talks a lot about dogmatic and doctrinal implications of the readings, as well as moral ones and ways in which we can live out the faith, in our own lives. So season after Pentecost can really be, to unfortunately a lot of people somewhat boring, not very interesting. But we have a lot of great saints' days coming up throughout this period too. Whether that be in July, we have the Feast of the Precious Blood. In August, of course, we have our Blessed Mother's Feast of her Assumption. And something that I talk about in my book too is that in the East, what they do is they observe a 2-week period of fasting leading up to the Assumption called the Dormition fast. Something we might want to do in order to keep living liturgically at this period of time is to keep those 2 weeks as days of fasting and absence, and then fittingly celebrate the Assumption and its octave leading into the Immaculate Heart. So August is actually a very robust month. And especially if you do the certain blessings throughout the year. For instance, the Assumption Day has a lot of different blessings of herbs associated with it in the Roman ritual. So read, as I talk about in the book, tell your priest you want him to do these blessings, because if he thinks nobody's interested, he's maybe not going to offer it. But say we want to have the blessing of herbs. We want to understand how it's connected to our Blessed Mother's Dormition and her Assumption, and how there were all these herbs at her tomb, and thus we bless them and we remember her end of her life and her Assumption, or at her Nativity as we celebrate the beginning of September. That's the day in which we would traditionally bless grapes, because in Europe it was the unofficial end of summer. The fall harvest was coming in, and you would bless all these grapes. So it's great to see people coming forward saying, hey, we would love our priest to bless all these grapes because we want to be connected to that tradition. We're honoring our Blessed Mother's birthday. All of that's occurring in this period of time after Pentecost. So it's not just waiting until Advent. Of course, we have that great Triduum too of Halloween leading into All Saints Day and All Souls Day and all the customs associated with that. But you hit a very good point that the Sundays after Pentecost to many people are just not very interesting. But I think that if we focused on the readings, we pair that with sermons and other things of good Catholic sources, we'll find a lot of richness in them, because above all, we have celebrated liturgically everything from Christ's incarnation to his birth, throughout his life, his death, his resurrection, his ascension, the descent of the Holy Ghost, the revelation of the Trinity. And now these should be focused on how do you actually live out a Catholic life? What does it mean? What are the moral implications of that? And let's continue to understand those mysteries more as we look forward to the eventual second coming of Christ. That's how you live out liturgically the seasons after Pentecost.